Story 1. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my 13-year-old to my wedding? Her father and I split up 2 years ago. My daughter and I had an okay relationship. I'm getting married in October. Recently my daughter made an Instagram reel, she has a small following of 3,000 people, expressing how excited she is to attend an upcoming wedding. In the reel she mentioned that she was going to her mother's wedding and was excited. However, she then made a sad face and said, "It doesn't matter that it is a sinful wedding and my mother has decided to become a slave to a home-wrecking white lady. A wedding is a wedding, and I will get to create so many outfit of the day posts and have lots of content to share. It's going to be exciting." I was extremely upset. I saw the comments and her father told her to delete the reel. Some people in the comments were expressing sympathy for her. I called her father immediately and he apologised profusely, saying he would ensure she deletes it. He said he had no idea why she would make such a reel. 10 minutes later the reel was gone. My daughter wasn't answering my calls, so I texted her, asking why she was spreading lies, doing this kind of stuff, and being a disappointment. She called me back after some time, yelling that I am the actual disappointment and that she's ashamed to consider me her mother, as an independent black Christian woman. Before I could respond, she hung up. I was horrified and depressed for a few days. I contacted her father again, asking if she would be coming for the weekend. I have her during the weekend and he has her during the weekdays, irrespective of vacations unless we agree to something. He said she didn't want to come to my place. I asked him if it was his idea to make our daughter believe all this, and he angrily responded, asking why I was accusing him. I got angry and pointed out that she spends more time with him. He calmed down and explained that he's an atheist and has no clue why our daughter has adopted this stance. He mentioned that a few months ago she had become interested in Christianity. I am a progressive Christian, and our daughter had discussed wanting to practice religion, which I supported. I know her father isn't a bad person, and he genuinely seemed confused. I emailed my daughter, she blocked me everywhere else, asking if she was coming to my house this Saturday, and reminding her that she cannot block me because I am her parent and have custody. She replied with a nasty email, so I responded saying, "Okay, you can come back to my house in November, and you are no longer invited to my wedding." I'd already worked this out with her father. I didn't get an email back, but her father texted me later saying she was crying because she feels disowned by her mother. Am I the a-hole? It must be incredibly painful to see your daughter express such hurtful sentiments publicly, especially when you're excited about your upcoming marriage. It's heart-wrenching that she feels this way, and it's clear that you're deeply affected by her actions and the strained relationship. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for not getting a wedding gift? Quick background, it's one of my closest friends getting married. I am happy for her, but I also feel hurt that I'm not allowed to come to the wedding reception. I will be in a different country and will be flying back the day of the wedding, possibly missing the ceremony but arriving in time for the reception. She said her wedding planner told her I can't show up since there is a possibility I'll miss the ceremony. She is someone I supported financially in the past, and she expects a great gift from me since she knows I have money. However, I feel like she shut the door on me by not making an exception or fighting to have me there. I will be flying back from the opposite corner of the earth and driving 2 hours to where it's being held, and she just brushed off the journey it will take me to get there for her. Her response was, "You're gonna miss out." So I feel like I shouldn't have to get her a gift of any sort since it seems she doesn't even want me there. Another reason I feel this way is that she never let me meet any of her family, friends, or anyone. I am male and we used to hang out all the time. Never dated or anything as I had feelings for her, but she didn't. I don't even think she ever mentioned me to anyone, and we have been close friends for over 3 years. Another male in our friend group got to meet all her friends and family and was always mentioned to others, but with me, it was different. I think she is embarrassed of me, which is why she isn't trying to get me to go or allowing me to go. I also currently live in a different city, so now we're online friends. When she started dating her fiancé, whom I met briefly once for 10 minutes in an airport, every time I go back home and ask to go to dinner or something with them, she makes lame excuses. This adds to all of this. So, am I the a-hole for not wanting to give her a gift? It's really hurtful to feel excluded from your friend's wedding reception after making such an effort to be there. Your frustration is completely understandable, especially given how much you've supported her in the past. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not ordering any food so I wouldn't have to split the bill? I've been part of a small friend group, around 8 people total basically since college. For some background, 2 people from the group, Susan and Greg, are absolute leeches. Going out for lunch, expect them to order the most expensive items on the menu, then feed you some sob story about their finances, and then dump half the bill on you. Last weekend, Dan, one of the people from the group, told me about a casual dinner. I told him that if Susan or Greg were there, I wouldn't be able to come. He tells me that they would be there, but that I should just put my opinions aside and come just once. This is kind of where I might be an a-hole. I agreed with him and told him I would be there. I showed up and we all got to talking. Everyone began putting in their orders, most of them spending about $40. There were only about 6 people there. When it got to Susan and Greg, they both ordered expensive dishes, around $200 each. When it was my turn to order, everyone looked at me. But I just picked up the menu, pointed to the $4 Miller Lite and sent the waiter away. Dan asked why I hadn't ordered anything, and I said that I lost my appetite. The other 2 friends got up as well to cancel their orders and just have drinks. After the main courses came out, I saw Susan and Greg picking at their food. The waiter then brought over the check. Greg then grabbed the waiter and asked him to split the check 6 ways. I stood up and corrected him, saying the check was to be split 3 ways. Greg looked at me confused and asked why, since we always split the bill. I reminded him that 3 of us had not eaten any food, so we would just be paying for our drinks. So, at the end of the night, Dan, who probably only ate around $50 worth of food, was stuck with a $146.98 check at the end. Yes, I remember the exact number. I swear I saw his jaw drop when he picked that receipt up. I slid a $10 towards the check, said goodbye to everyone, and walked out. The next morning I found my phone full of texts from Greg and Susan telling me I was an a-hole for not ordering any food and forcing them to pay more than they had accounted for. I honestly laughed because the stakes alone were more than what they had paid, but to each their own, right? I also got a lot of messages from Dan saying that I could have just not come instead of pulling that stunt and getting him stuck with an outrageous bill. At this restaurant, the bar is separate, so drinks are on a separate bill, if that makes sense. And if anyone is concerned about leaving a tip, I live in Australia. Edit. Hey guys, just wanted to clarify some things. 90% of restaurants where I live don't do separate checks and might separate the bill for you if you're lucky. By the way, this post is in AUD, so if you want the amounts in USD, you have to convert it. Dan could have easily asked Greg and Susan to transfer him the money if he wanted, but he's always been about helping them through their financial hardship, even though they're just using him and keep dragging me into it. I admit what I did was immature, but I'm tired of being forced to play along. It's his money, and if he wants to spend it on them, that's fine, but I'm not paying for them. Also, Dan's a really good friend of mine, albeit blind AF. I was just trying to get him to see what kind of people he was helping. I will admit it was a tad bit petty. It's tough to feel taken advantage of by your friends, and your decision not to order food shows just how fed up you were with the unfair bill splitting. While it might have caused some tension, it's clear you were trying to stand up for yourself. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend that she gave me the ick at a family dinner? I'm a 32M dating my girlfriend Jenny, 27F, for almost a year now, and we've met each other's families. Jenny is an only child of an Asian family, while I'm half-half with one younger sister, Anna, 21F. Anna and I are close despite our age gap. Our parents both work demanding jobs, so I would babysit, chaperone her through many of her bratty teen years. In recent months, I've noticed that whenever Anna comes up in conversation, Jenny would joke about how Anna is overly spoiled by my parents and me, and how we've created a princess. Last week at a family dinner with my parents, I felt like Jenny was overly grilling Anna about school, dating, and life. At one point, Anna was telling a story about how a first date gave her the ick by not pulling out his wallet after their meal and letting her foot the full bill. Jenny laughed and said that not every man will treat her to dinner like her brother would, and that you need to lower your standards. I was not happy with this comment, as it sounded like my sister didn't deserve to be treated with basic respect, but I also didn't want to embarrass Jenny. Jenny then went on to talk about how that would never happen to her, as men see her as high value. I don't know what it was about this comment, but it pissed me off, and I said that she was giving me the ick, and to stop talking to my sister like that. The argument we had when we got home was massive, and Jenny told me that I was overreacting to an innocuous comment and would make a terrible father because I would always favour my sister over everyone else. I'm shocked at being called a terrible father and honestly still don't think I was wrong, but I need another opinion. It's really upsetting to hear your girlfriend make comments that hurt your sister, especially during a family dinner. Your reaction shows how much you care about your sister and how deeply those comments affected you. Story 5. I married the guy nobody wanted. I, 26F, met my husband, 25M, 3 years ago and got married 1 year after being together. When we met, I could tell he was quite quirky. He's very friendly and always eager to help anyone. He actively keeps supplies in his truck in case he comes across someone who needs help. Sadly, because of this, he got used a lot and barely recognized it. He was bullied a lot growing up, but didn't seem to see it as bullying until he got older. People made fun of his appearance and how desperate he was to have friends. When we got together, I constantly had people asking me what I saw in him. Some of his family members even tried flirting with me. I hate how unkind they are to him. He comes home every evening and cuddles up to me while telling me long stories about work which I look forward to. He's helped me heal from a very painful past and has loved me like I've never been loved before. He makes me feel so incredibly safe. He's the coolest guy I know, and I'm so proud of myself for scoring such an amazing husband. We'll be having our first child soon, and I'm so happy that my child will have him as their father. I'm so incredibly lucky. Edit. I didn't expect this post to get as much attention as it did. Thank you for all the positive comments. I appreciate them so much. I've also received some negative comments and DMs saying I settled for a loser. It's sad because I know it's just hurt people attempting to hurt others. Some of you have expressed distaste for the title and I didn't realise it could come off negatively. I apologise for that. I chose that title as a way to acknowledge and accurately portray what my husband has had to go through. It was a hard, isolating situation and nobody sided with him. The title was just a reference to how he was so often cast out. It's not that way anymore because he will never be lonely again, and he will always be wanted by me. Someone also mentioned that he might be neurodivergent. He actually is. It went undiagnosed until a year into our relationship when I encouraged him to look into it. Learning more about being neurodivergent has really helped him appreciate and understand himself better. Story 6. My sister ruined my life. I, 32F, and Amy, 32F, have been best friends since we sat beside each other on our first day of school. We spent our lives in each other's houses, but since I have two sisters, Kate, 34F, and Jen, 25F, and Amy only has 3 older brothers, she used to love coming to our girly house and was like part of the family. Amy has been with her boyfriend Tom for 8 years, and my family knows him well. Last week I was hosting a mutual friend's baby shower when Amy got a bad headache and decided to go home early. I tried calling her that night to see how she was but didn't get an answer and just assumed she'd gone to bed early. The next day I found out that Amy had found Tom and Jen in bed together. I tried calling Amy but she wouldn't answer. I called our mutual friend back and she basically said Amy doesn't believe I didn't know. I was gutted that she would think that but can understand her shock. Jen was also blocking me, so I went to my parents' house and found her crying and playing the victim. I lost it. I told her she was disgusting scum and that I wanted nothing to do with her. She was dead to me. My parents tried to mediate, saying she made a mistake but she was my sister. I told them I couldn't understand how she could betray Amy like that, when Amy's been a part of her life since the day she was born. I don't know what to do. It's really hard to see such a close friend and a sister betray someone so deeply. The pain and anger in this situation are completely understandable given the trust that was broken. Story 7. My foster family of 11 years is kicking me out by the end of the week. I have nowhere to go and I feel broken. I, 18M, was told earlier today that I need to pack up and leave by the end of the week. I still feel in shock. I was removed from my biological family when I was 7 due to issues with my parents. I was then placed in foster care and matched with a couple who I will call the Peters. It's not their real name. No matter how much I actually want to blast their real info, I won't. The Peters were always really nice to me, and since I moved in when I was pretty young, after a while, I started to consider them my parents. I called them Mum and Dad and treated them as my parents. I treated their biological son as my brother. I wasn't their only foster child. They also have a 9-year-old boy who has lived with us for a little over a year. I was never adopted by them. I know why. Because they live off the fostering allowance, something that never really bothered me. They told me that it didn't matter and that legality didn't make us a family, which I believed. I went on their agency's website earlier today and found out that they were getting paid at least £2,400 for me per month. Or at least they were. Since I turned 18, they stopped getting the allowance. However, they applied for a staying put arrangement for me, which meant they would continue getting paid something as they continued to support me and let me live with them. It wasn't as much. I think it was like £1,000 per month. They told me they had it approved until I was 21, so I thought I'd be able to stay at least until I finished uni. They sat me down today and told me I had to leave. They told me that fostering is a business and that they couldn't afford to keep me on just the staying put arrangement allowance. They told me I had until the end of the week, 4 days. How generous of them. They said they need my room because they want to get a new foster placement. They literally told me it's not personal, like that makes me feel any better. They said they would still consider me like a son, not their son anymore, like a son, and that they want to keep in touch. What a joke. They chose to kick me out, an 18-year-old with no job, no income, no nothing, about to start university. Yet their bio son, who is 25, gets to stay. So, yeah, I guess fuck me, right? I'm just the one no one ever wanted. I guess I wasn't ever truly part of their family. Story 8. My dying wife admitted that she never loved me, only married me to get out of poverty. I'm utterly gutted. My wife has terminal cancer and will be gone within the next few short months. She's been at peace with this and even seems happy about it. I've spent every moment at her side since her diagnosis and was there when it got rough. I went to every chemo treatment with her and was there to hear all the bad news. Cancer aside, we did everything together. We went on dates, played games, tried new places, travelled, and have a daughter who's 9. My wife came from deep, deep poverty, and it was by chance that we met. She was a waitress, and I was smitten from the moment I laid eyes on her. She reciprocated my feelings quickly, and the rest is history. But according to my wife, she never truly loved me. She liked me, but she didn't love me. She had no one else in her heart, but I wasn't the one for her. She just married me to get out of poverty. To her, we were like roommates who had sex and went on dates sometimes. To me, she was the love of my life and my universe. I have to face losing her alongside this information and navigate how to be a single dad soon. I feel cheated, like an idiot, and heartbroken. I still love her, and I wish she would survive so we could fix these feelings. I've been trying to win her over in her final days, but she isn't having it. She's content with her life. She asked me not to visit anymore, but I can't stay away. I just wish she never told me. I understand she wanted to clear her conscience before death, but I could have lived without that information. All my memories of her are different now that I know I was only being used and that she never truly loved me. If she had developed feelings for me later on, I would have been okay. I would have been fine being used by her as long as she fell in love with me later. But she didn't. I wish she never told me. I want to remember her as my loving wife, not a liar. She was a wonderful woman aside from what she did. This was the only blotch on her record, although it's quite large. She remained faithful to me to the end, was amazing at acting, and made me feel like the most important and loved man on this planet. She didn't spend my money frivolously. She got her own education and became a nurse. She did it on her own. She just used me to get there and continued to pretend. She could have left me after she got a stable job, but she didn't. I wish she continued not to hurt me by never telling me. Discovering that your wife's love was not genuine, especially as she faces her final days, must be excruciating and disorienting. It's heartbreaking that you're now forced to reconcile your deep love for her with the painful truth she revealed. What would you do in his situation? Anyway, that were the stories of today. If you want to continue using this free library, please subscribe to the channel. If you also enjoyed the stories, give this video a like. This way I can see what kind of stories I should read. Don't worry, here is another story on the screen. We bring our story to a close and continue with the next one.